The analysis was done by Cornell University at the Data and Democracy Lab there. They do a lot of research on elections and gather data from last fall's Portland City Council election. They looked specifically at the election for councilors rather than the mayor or the city auditor, because to elect council, we used a system called single transferable vote to elect 3 winners per district instead of just 1. In the report, the researchers wrote, overall, we find that STV, single transferable vote, delivered strikingly well on its promise of better proportionality for the voters of Portland. So first, let's look at voter turnout. There was concern that lots of people would skip voting for councilors because it was too confusing with all the different bubbles and rankings to fill in. The researchers found that was not the case. They compared turnout with past presidential election years and found that there was not a huge difference. They compared the number of people who voted for president and the number of people who voted for city council. The difference is called the roll-off rate. We're looking at those numbers highlighted. Fewer people voted for city council compared to the 2020 election, about 81% of presidential voters in 2024 compared to 87% in 2020. But more than during the 2016 election, when 78% of people voted for both city council and president.
So down here we have the rate of roll-off for the 2024 city council election. And as you can see, it's actually squarely between the roll-off rates from the 2016 and 2020 presidential race. So what this is telling us is that just because we changed in Portland from plurality elections to ranked choice elections doesn't mean that people were any more or less likely to participate in the election. Just switching the method didn't scare away voters. People still wanted to express their preferences here.
But another concern we heard a lot, again, was that the ballot was too confusing. You had, in some districts, up to 30 different candidates, and you got to choose your top 6 and rank them in order of preference. The researchers looked at what they called ballot spoilage, ballots that had so many mistakes when they were filled out that the votes didn't go anywhere.
And here we can just see some stats from the different districts. Districts 2 through 4 all behave about the same, but District 1 does have a significantly high spoiler rate, overvote rate, etc. So, this is something to keep an eye on, but from all other comparisons to all other major cities, as ranked choice voting elections continue to be run, voter error, which I'll put in quotes, goes down. So through education and through experience, people become more familiar with the ballot style.
The researchers found that for the most part, people understood that you get to rank 6 candidates, even though only 3 will get elected. In fact, most people chose their top 6, the bars on the far right there, instead of stopping at 3 or some other number. Now, aside from voter confusion, one more thing people worried about was the threshold to elect councilors. Because there are 3 seats per district, each councilor only needs to get 25% of the votes, plus 1 more, known as 25 plus 1. There was a lot of fear that so few votes would allow extremists to be elected, or that someone with little support in their district would win a seat. The data shows that was not really the case. Researchers found voters tended to choose candidates who all had similar views. So when 1 or 2 of them failed to meet the threshold and got eliminated, their votes went to a candidate that was similar, boosting them toward that 25 plus 1 threshold. Now, despite how crazy this graphic here looks, it's interesting how it works out. For most more progressive voters, if their top candidate was eliminated, their vote would then boost other progressive candidates. But your more moderate neighbors boosted the more moderate candidates. You can see that in green on this table here for the District 1 election. That's East Portland. Candace Avalos, Steph Routh, and Jamie Dunphy shared a lot of the same voters. You can see that in the dark green. Avalos and Dunphy ended up winning seats, but Loretta Smith, who won the 3rd seat, had a lot of different voters. You can see she doesn't have any green by her name. She's represented in purple on this grid. It's confusing, I know, but stick with us. To better explain that, let's jump to District 4, downtown Portland, where 2 moderate candidates and 1 progressive were elected. Listen to how researchers showed it playing out. The moderate candidates are in blue and the progressive ones are in green.
When Weinstein here goes away, look at where his support goes. And ask yourself, is he more like blue team or more like green team? Well, when he's eliminated, his support goes here. And so you can see it's going a lot more to blue team. So he's better aligned with that business slate than he is with the rest. But then all of these Team Green people, they're keeping their votes kind of within that slate. And that's what finally puts Mitch Green over the line. So we thought this was incredibly important to communicate to people about the virtues of STV, or you could call it a feature, or you could call it a bug. It depends on your values and what you're after. But if you think about groups of voters with similar preferences, STV won't let one block sweep the winner set. It will share power between groups of candidates that have different support because your vote transfers down to someone else in your block after your top candidate is eliminated. We think that's a pretty strong case in favor of STV.
The researchers found that nearly everyone ranked at least one candidate who either won a seat or barely missed, coming in fourth place. The rate of ballot futility, where no one ranked on your ballot was elected or came in fourth, was about 2% citywide. So talk to us. What are your thoughts on ranked choice voting? Do you like it? Why or why not? Email us, thestory@kgw.com, or call and leave a voicemail, 503-226-5090.